Takes a long time to write a movie. I actually started working on this in the 90s, then I left it, and I came back to it in 2005. And that's pretty much what I've been doing since then. And time flies, let me tell you. One draft after another. We did so many drafts of this script, you know. We went through 20, 30 drafts, maybe more, you know. And it took a long time to develop. Because when you make a film of this size, you're competing with every other film in the world. And the storytelling process has become a lot more sophisticated, you know, since I did the first film just 10 years ago. The Americans are making very sophisticated comedies now, you know, and that's who you're competing with. Well, I've been going to Mykonos since 1992. That's the first time I went there, and I fell in love with the island as a tourist. And being, you know, of Greek background and heritage, obviously, it was extra special. But it had something unique about it. I've been to some of the other Aegean islands, and you know, all the islands have their own character. But this island, to me, just visually, you know, was very arresting. And I thought it would be fantastic to come back here one day, you know, from a filmmaker's point of view. And then I met the great characters, because the thing about Mykonos is it's very international. Okay, obviously there's a lot of Mykonians who live there. There's a community of 8,000 people who make it their home. But the wonderful thing is, there's people from all over the world, real characters who descend on this island every year. And that's where I met characters like Pierluigi, the guy who boasted about sleeping with 43 women. And he's in the movie, not the actual guy, but, you know, the idea of it, the character. And I met some terrific characters. Zimi, you know, the guy who plays Zimi in the film. He's based on a guy I know in Mykonos. And a lot of the situations when I talk about Gallipoli, you know, without ruining the movie for people who are going to go watch it, that came out from me. Some Greeks asked me once, they said, tell us a great story about Australia. And I told them the story about Gallipoli, you know, and how we celebrate. It's a national holiday. And they said, why are you telling us this depressing story? You know, and then I mentioned the Turks, and of course, they were Turks. We would have come with you, we would have fought with you. And I used that in the film, you know. So all the things I've experienced and the notes I took since '92, within Chris Anastasiadis, my co-writer, and me, we then took all those and then we tried to build them in a cohesive storyline. And that was a separate project. And then we decided that we could turn it into the sequel. That was after we started sort of developing it as the Kings of Mykonos. Yeah. No, look, it's my fans are, you know, I'm very lucky to have the passionate fans that I have, and they let me know that, you know, they don't fuck it up. Watch the film. We only mention the word wog once in this film, and that's when a Greek asks us, what is a wog? Dimitris Starovas, the fabulous Dimitris Starovas, asks us in one scene, he says, what is this wog? And I say, well, it's a term the Aussies used to use as an insult. And he says, so now you insult yourselves. And I go, yeah. He goes, bravo. And that's all that needs to be said, you see. So now I'm finding that a lot of the Greek media, I've started doing a lot of interviews, they're fascinated by that process, and they're fascinated about what we went through here. And I think Greeks generally are becoming more interested in the diaspora and the experience of first, second, third generation children from migrant origin. They never used to be, you know. I mean, Greece, I think the last few years have become very involved and very interested. And they're very fascinated by this film. They're, you know, they're trying to work it out, I think. Look, there's a way of working in Australia and there's a way of working in Greece, you know. They're two very different work ethics. So what I had to do also as the producer was to bring the two worlds together. We had an Australian crew and a Greek crew working side by side. And thank God, it was fine. They actually got on really well. Because the one thing we share, both countries, is that work ethic, you know. I think both the Greeks and the Aussies see themselves as underdogs, you know. And I think that really, you know, and the Greeks love to drink, the Aussies love to drink. The Greeks like to party, the Aussies like to party. And that's why I think Australians particularly love Mykonos and they love the Greek islands. Because, you know, I mean, it feels like, I mean, it's not Australia, of course, but there's an element to it, you know, where you can just drink in the street and, you know, you can go and dance all night. That is sort of Aussie, if you know what I mean. I was amazed when I realised that Peter hadn't made a film yet, you know. So my co-producer, Emil Sherman, who's a very, very talented producer, he made Rabbit Proof Fence, Candy with Heath Ledger. I mean, he's my partner on this project. And I came up with the suggestion of working with Peter, because I'd worked with Peter on Acropolis Now when he was first starting out. And he did a terrific job. He did a few episodes, and I just remember we all got on really well, and I loved his intellect. He's a very intelligent man, Peter. And I just felt, someone like Peter would bring a very strong visual style to the film, but I also thought as a director he would really push me and Vince as actors. And I'm very pleased to say that he did. And you see the results in the film, He really pushed me a lot. He wanted me to go into more dramatic areas I hadn't been in before as an actor. And, he really encouraged me, and I'm glad he did, because I think those moments in the film are very different to the first film, And I think he's really put his stamp on this film. It really is very much a Peter Andrikidis film. The other great thing was Peter insisted on using authentic Greek actors and Italian actors and German actors, because he's worked on SBS. He's done so many auditions. He hates it when you get an actor trying to do a Greek accent. And I agree with him wholeheartedly. So we spent a long time auditioning all the Greek actors, Zeta Makripoulia, Galini Tseva, Dimitri Starova, Manos Skavras. In fact, all of them. The whole Greek ensemble is fantastic. And that's because Peter took the time to just really do the auditions. Zeta is a very beautiful woman, obviously. But I tell you the best thing about Zeta, she's very professional. She's the consummate professional. She never complained once about anything. And it was a really tough shoot, She handles herself amazingly. And she's got a quality in front of the camera that I think is very unique. I called her Catherine Deneuve. She's a cross between Catherine Deneuve and Nicole Kidman. She's got a mysterious quality, When you see her on the big screen, you want to know more about her. And it's been interesting to watch the Australian audience be really besotted with her. I mean, the Australian audience is falling in love with Zeta in the same way the Greeks have fallen in love with Zeta. And I'm really enjoying watching that. And I tell her on the phone, I ring her now and again, she doesn't believe it. She's now doing Dancing with the Stars. But I actually hope she continues her film career, because it's very difficult working in front of a camera. Not many people can do it. And she's got it. And I think she's actually international. I encourage her to go to Hollywood. But she doesn't. She feels like a lot of the Greek actors, their English isn't good enough. But that's not true. Their English is great. I mean, they speak better English than I speak Greek. No, look, I think when you travel as an Australian, regardless of your background, I think that's when you realise how Australian you are. I certainly realised that the first time I went to Greece, because I was born in Australia. And I didn't go to Greece until I was 14 with my dad. And what I remember is I turned up to my dad's village. Sorry, I just spat on you. I turned up to my dad's village wearing an Essendon football jumper. And I've got a photo of me on my grandfather's donkey in an Essendon football jumper. And that to me pretty much symbolised, what it was. I mean, I was a kid from the suburbs of Melbourne in this horio, in this village, not really understanding where I was. And when I spoke Greek to my cousins, they didn't understand me. They couldn't understand me. They said, "Τι γλώσσα μιλάει αυτός, τι λέει αυτός, τι είπε, τι?" And because I was speaking with a really heavy Australian accent. So we got called wogs here. We go there, we're kangurudas. It was kind of like, well, and that's pretty much how I think a lot of us have felt our whole lives. We don't quite know where we fit in. And that theme of displacement is very prevalent in this film, But I think all Aussies feel, not just us, I think all Aussies kind of feel that. Because we're a young country. Yeah. And what people overseas know about Australia isn't really the life we live here. I mean, they know about the outback, or Crocodile Dundee, or the Crocodile Hunter. The reality is most of us have never seen a crocodile. A lot of us haven't seen a kangaroo. Yeah, it's like, showing them a movie like this about multicultural Australia, and the fact that, Australia's a lot more diverse than just the koalas and the kangaroos, and I think that's a good thing. Yeah. I think it's a good thing. We had to cast the part of Pierluigi and Kevin Sorbo, who played Hercules. Well, let me tell you, the Greeks were excited when Hercules came back to Greece. Hercules was a big show in Greece. It's an American show with Kevin Sorbo, who's actually of Scandinavian descent. And a great story, Kevin was travelling to the set one day and he passes this sign that says Hercules Car Rentals. And he immediately got out and started taking photos in front of the sign, you know. And of course I can imagine once the guy came out of the rental, he goes, "Oh, Hercules, Hercules." I mean, you can imagine this guy probably would have had a heart attack.
Yeah.
No, look, it's my fans are, you know, I'm very lucky to have the passionate fans that I have.
Yeah.
And they let me know that, you know, they don't fuck it up. I don't know if you can put that to word.
No, we can do whatever. We're Greeks.
That's that on my Facebook page, you know, on the fan page for this film, Kings of Mykonos page. I get a lot of those comments. You know, love the first one, don't stuff this one up.
Yeah.
So you do feel a responsibility. That's why it took me 5 years to write the script.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to make sure that you know, we could do as good a job as we can. And I also want this film to play internationally. And I was also aware of the fact that I wanted this film to open in Greece. And I want the Greeks to be proud of us, you know. I want them to be proud of what we've achieved. I want them to be proud of what a great job we did of filming Greece. In fact, I'm very happy to hear some of the reviewers are already saying that they think this film looks better than Mamma Mia. So, you know, and the Greeks are, I mean, the Greek distributor at Odeon wrote us an email the minute he saw the film and he said, "My God, it's beautiful," you know. Sometimes it takes an outsider to show another country how beautiful they really are, you know. Sometimes you can be too close to something. And Mark Wareham, our Australian DOP, who's from Queensland, fell in love with the island. And you've got to remember, he's seeing the light for the first time and the colours for the first time. So it's all fresh and new to him. And that's how the film looks, you know. It looks like the way it looks in a postcard. Because that's the way Peter and Mark Wareham saw the island. And Peter emphasised that the island had to be always in the background. He didn't want any studio shots. You know, I mean, we're not going to be shooting this in, you know, Docklands for Greece. We want it to be in Greece because that colour of that water, that azure blue or whatever you want to call it, I mean, azure is more the Italian thing, but I don't know what the Greeks call that colour, that special Greek blue which is in our flag, you know. That's a very beautiful colour. You can never recreate that. And we wanted to get that, the beautiful white cubist houses, the blue doors, you know. We wanted to show how beautiful, absolutely beautiful this island is. And I think the Aussie crew did a great job. Greek history is littered with Greece having survived wars, all sorts of, you know, monumental events. Greece will survive this. Greece will be stronger for this. These things not only happen in Greece, they happen in lots of countries. I think Greece has been over-highlighted, for want of a better word, and I don't know why that is. That's politics. That's not what I do. I just try to make people laugh. But what I do know is that I'll keep going to Greece. And it's going to be a little bit cheaper this year, which I'm kind of sad about that, but I'm kind of happy about that, you know, from an Australian point of view. But I know that Greece will bounce back. And most importantly, I think, you know, Greece's number one industry, which is tourism, you know. I mean, if I can do anything to help that, if I can get 2,000, 3,000 more people, whatever it takes to go to that island or just to visit Greece, then I'll be really proud of that. The Kings of Mykonos Wog Boy 2 opens in Australia on May the 20th, and in Greece it's opening on June the 3rd.
Okay.
And I'm actually travelling to Greece with Vince Colosimo for the premiere in Mykonos on May 29th. And then we've got another special screening premiere in Athens on May 31st.
Okay.
In the open air theatre in Mykonos, which is going to be amazing. You've got 8,000 Myconians, and I reckon they're all going to want to be there.